Hi guys, it's Sam and I am back today with a book review for you guys, and that book is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. So I read this book as part of a read-along hosted by Ginger Reads Laney, which was perfect timing because I had totally just bought this book before I knew there was going to be a read-along, and I'm like, hey, I own it, I might as well read it. And it was totally a cover buy because, I mean, look at this. It's a gorgeous cover, the spine, the bookmark, everything about this is wonderful, so we just need to take a moment to appreciate it in all of its beauty. So The Queen of the Tearling is an adult fantasy novel. It takes place way in the future, so it does take place in our world, but after some type of cataclysmic event, we are left to assume, has caused the Americans and the British to go on the Great Crossing and inhabit this new land in which they live in. We don't know too much about this crossing, what caused it, what it entailed. We just know that a lot was lost. A lot of the technology, a lot of the science, a lot of the things that we take for granted nowadays is gone. And basically people are living like they did in the Middle Ages. So the story opens with Kelsey, who is the Queen of the Tearling. She was taken away at infancy to be raised in a cottage in the woods by two of the kingdom's devoted servants, Carlin and Barty, and they were to raise her to become a good queen when she came of age, to teach her, to school her, to just, educate her in anything they feel that she would need to become a queen of this kingdom. So at the age of 19, the Queen's Guard shows up, which is the guard that was sworn to protect her mother and now herself, to take her to New London, the capital of the Tearling Kingdom, so she can become the queen. Kelsey sets off. She's apprehensive. She doesn't really want to leave Carlin and Barty, even though she's always been a little bit sad about her life because she's been lonely. She'd never had any interaction with other children or other people. She just lived in that cottage with them for basically 18 years. So she's a little bit apprehensive about leaving, and she is described as being homely, so she feels self-conscious about her appearance, and she's not used to being around men really, and she just is apprehensive about the whole situation. And pretty soon on in the book, we learn with Kelsey that there is a rather tentative relationship between the Mortments kingdom and the kingdom of the Tearling. Mortments is a neighboring kingdom ruled by the Red Queen, and the Red Queen had invaded the Tearling kingdom about 20 years prior, and a treaty had been drawn up. And pretty soon on in the book, when she arrives in New London, Kelsey learns exactly what that treaty entails, and it's not quite what she expected or had hoped for. She learns a lot of things about her kingdom and a lot of the bad things that have been going on, and things really are not at all what she thought they would be. And the kingdom itself has been being ruled by her uncle as regent since she was a baby because her mother was killed when she was a young child. And a lot of bad things have basically been going on. So Kelsey sets out to try and instill peace in her land, to bring about the government she always wished for, and to right a lot of the wrongs that she now knows have been going on while she had been in the cottage waiting to inherit the kingdom. Of course, some of the actions that she takes to right these wrongs sort of incur the wrath of the kingdom of Mortments and the Red Queen. I have no idea, by the way, if I'm saying that right, if it's Mortments. If anybody knows how to say that, could you let me know? That'd be great. And of course she has to deal with that and what that will mean, perhaps a possible another invasion. So that is the basic synopsis of the book. So now I will tell you guys what I thought of the book. So overall, I liked the book well enough. I thought that the writing was excellent. I really liked her writing style, her use of words, and I just enjoyed the writing. I thought it was fairly easy to read, pretty quick paced, and I enjoyed that. I liked the character of Kelsey. I thought she was pretty strong female character, and I did like the story. I think the story is an interesting concept, having this futuristic world with a slight magical element, though it's not as prevalent as you would think in a fantasy novel. You really don't see a lot of the magical element of the book until the last third of the book, but it was interesting nonetheless. It's a little, I don't want to go too much into it, it's a little bit spoilery. Basically it has to do with the sapphire necklace that she has worn since she was a small child, that she has been wearing basically since she was a baby. I also loved about Kelsey was that she was a book lover, and I believe I even posted on Twitter that if Kelsey would have had the technology available to her and this was all still going on, she would have totally been a booktuber because she loved books. The woman that helped raise her, one of her guardians, Carlin, was a huge book lover and had a huge library in her house, which is rare because at this point there's no printing presses and books are really, really, really rare, and she loved books. And I also love the fact that at some point they mention J.K. Rowling's 7 books, which you all know is Harry Potter, so it's good to know that way, way, way in the future, Harry Potter is still going strong, at least for some people who have books. Also, The Lord of the Rings was mentioned, which I really appreciated. So I loved that Kelsey was a book lover. I love that about her. Of course, because we're all book lovers, right? That's why we're on here. So I thought that was excellent. I really enjoyed that part of the book. I also enjoyed the dynamic between the Queen's Guard, the men who are sworn to protect her, and Kelsey. I like that dynamic and watching them go from not respecting her and being hesitant about her being queen to really growing to respect her by the end of the book. So I thought the story was interesting and what's gone on. But there were some things that kind of detracted from my total enjoyment of the book. I thought that the character of Kelsey was a little bit annoying in the beginning because she was constantly talking about her appearance and how she felt ugly and thought that no man could ever like her, blah, blah, blah. And that after a while it just kind of got a little bit annoying. That kind of stopped really towards the last half of the book, which I appreciated. I also didn't like how she was constantly talking about people's ages and how everybody looked so old. That kind of annoyed me, especially when she referred to somebody who was 35 as old. I'm like, that's not old. I mean, come on. It's not that old. So there was a pretty strong religious overtone to the book, I thought, because there was the church in her kingdom was like kind of a meld between Catholicism and like Protestant religion. I think they even say that at one point. And basically she's an atheist and looks down on people who follow this religion, and which is fine, because a lot of times in fantasy books you'll find a book that there is this corrupt church in the book. I've noticed a lot in a lot of fantasy novels, but I thought that it was a little bit overdone, constantly talking about how she doesn't respect anybody that follows. I don't know, it's hard to explain. It just kind of felt a little bit overdone. I just thought that the religious element of the book kind of detracted from the overall story. I didn't feel like it added a lot to the story, except for to just show that she didn't believe in it and that she thought that everybody who sort of practiced this religion was just utterly ridiculous and not really deserving of any type of respect, except for one towards the last half of the book. You do kind of see her have respect from some priest in this religion. I don't really know how to describe it. You kind of have to read it to see it. I just felt like some of the conversations pertaining to this topic in the book were a little bit unnecessary, I guess. I also felt that the book could have been about 100 pages left. I think in the middle part there was a little bit slow moving. I also thought that the world could have been developed a little bit more. I was having a hard time actually picturing this world and what it entailed, what it consisted of. I also think that she could have done a little bit more of a back history on what caused everybody to go on this great crossing and why and what caused that. I'm hoping though that, since I believe this is the first book in a trilogy, I know there will be another book, that she'll be going more in depth into those topics. I also think that the magic system could be explained a little bit more, like where it came from and how it works, which I'm also hoping will show up in the second book. Also, there's a character introduced, Fetch, who is a leader of basically a band of thieves type of a character. I wish that she would have gone more in depth onto who he was and what his past was. I felt like he was just kind of thrown into the story, but not much was really told about him, and they really didn't show him that much except for in the first half of the book and a little bit in the last half of the book. So there really wasn't much character development with him and what he means and what his intentions are and what his character is meant to do for the plot, I guess. So I'm hoping that also will be more fully fleshed out in the second book. Overall, I think I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I would have preferred to have given it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I felt that it was more deserving of the half-star bump up because I am hopeful for what the other books in this series will be a little bit better than this one. Overall, I'm not really excited about the book. It really didn't capture my interest, I guess. I didn't feel devoted to the story or the characters. It didn't really capture me or my heart. I wasn't invested in the story. And I'm hoping, but I can see promise in this book series, so I'm holding out hope until I read the next book to really decide whether or not I like this story and this book. And you know, it's hard with first books in a series. Sometimes they can go either way. They can either be really good or not so good, but the other books in the series can be really good. So the jury is out until I read the next book, basically. I enjoyed the read, but I didn't love it. But I can really see the potential, so I'm holding out hope. I think that I guess overall, my impression of the book was that it was rather hasty. I just felt like things weren't as fully fleshed out and developed as they could have been. I think that was part of what kept me from totally enjoying this book. But I can see the potential. I can see how this could become a really, really good series. So I'm looking forward to the second book. I will read it whenever it comes out, and I am anticipating seeing where this story goes. So I would, if you like fantasy with a slight dystopian element, I would recommend this book, but just have an open mind that it's probably not going to be as good as you are anticipating, but that there is the potential there for this series to become really, really, really good. So that's what I have to say about this book. I hope this review was helpful for you guys. Sometimes I feel like my reviews aren't always the best, so let me know down in the comments where I might be able to improve upon my reviews for you guys, because I would love to hear your feedback. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time guys, happy reading and bye!